Commence primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast 2 for 1. I'm your host, Donovan Thompson, with my co-host,
Daniel Wingfield.
And today we have a very special guest. We are joined by Blake Elder of Rock Hill Studios.
What's up, guys? How are you?
We're doing pretty good. Blake, we're very honored to have you on our show. Can you kind of tell our listeners or our viewers on YouTube, some of your background in filmmaking and Rock Hill Studios in general?
Sure, yeah. I started out as a cinematographer, coming up the ranks, and have now kind of moved over to producing. And with that, I've started a company called Rock Hill Studios. We're based in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and we just try to make really good content. We do anything from commercials to feature films. So, and we try to do as much as we can, in the state of Arkansas. We love our state. So,
yeah. We just had some exciting news yesterday about some tax incentives kind of breaking.
That's right.
At least, some really cool stuff there. So maybe we'll get some more work coming our way. Who knows?
That'd be awesome, man.
It would be
ready.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, today we're here to talk Mortal Kombat, not the 1995 movie, but the 2021 release that just happened from Warner Brothers in theaters and HBO Max. I was very pumped for this movie, and I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan, going back from the early days when I was born, the 90s, and I've bought every game, seen every movie. I'm just an uber fan and also a filmmaker, so this was like the ultimate thing for me. I want to get your guys' general thoughts. The movie's out. Blake, we'll start with you. What do you guys think?
Man, I really enjoyed it. Not just from a nostalgic standpoint, but with a film like that, going into it knowing what to expect and what it is. It's probably not going to win an Oscar, but it was fun. It's a fun ride. It had most of everything I wanted in it and what I expected. So I was not disappointed. In fact, I really liked it. It was entertaining.
That's good. I know we talked a little bit while I think you were watching it actually. And I knew going in, I was like, Blake's probably going to like this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Daniel, what's your general impressions here? Also, real quick, I don't know if you watch the show, Blake. Typically, I'm a little more forgiving on movies, and then Daniel just comes in and like a wrecking ball and just destroys my opinion. Typically that's how it works here. But
I just have very correct opinions. I can't help it.
There you go. Yeah, very correct ones. All right, Daniel, give me your general thoughts on this movie.
So I'll preface this by saying I was not a Mortal Kombat kid. I was too young at the time when that was really hitting its high, and I just fighting games. That was something I played some Soul Calibur back in the day when they had like Yoda and Darth Vader and that. But all that to say is I don't really have a familiarity with the source material other than maybe a couple times I've played. Right. But I really enjoyed it as well, even not having, the nostalgia attachment as much. What it needed to do well, it does really well. I think there's some times when some of the dialogue made me laugh, not on purpose, I think, but that was still a part of the enjoyment almost, you know what I'm saying? And so the fight scenes, most of the kills, the fatalities were really cool. And it did what it needed to do with the hero's journey that it was, telling with this. And I think the actors were, a lot of them were good, and the ones that maybe weren't so good, it still was fine with me. I guess it didn't bother me that it was kind of some maybe, I don't know, the cliche performances or whatnot. But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I'm really surprised. I even told you, go into this movie and kind of turn off your filmmaker brain off a little bit, which I know it's hard sometimes to do that. I've seen it 3 times now, and I watched it again. I just finished it a little bit ago to kind of prepare for this. I saw it the first time in theaters with my crew, and we masked up and everything. I went back into the cinemas for this one. In the theater with, my family and stuff, I had a blast watching it. I won't lie. There was moments I had, I think, as a fan, expectations and also some filmmakery things that kind of pulled me down a little bit. I go into every movie wanting to succeed, and I'm forgiving in a lot of ways too on certain aspects. But there were certain things I thought was kind of confusing in terms of why did you make that choice, and how I wanted to see this or X, Y, and Z. But I think they kind of did what they needed to do. They introduced it. They were fan servicey. They introduced it to a general audience and kind of updated some of the things and some of the aesthetics for filmmaking. But I do want to get into some of these nitty gritty things, guys. So let's talk about the plot of the movie. So we have, it starts off with Scorpion and Sub-Zero's backstory in ancient, is it China? I think it's in China in the beginning. Yeah, it's in China. Yeah.
I think it's Japan, but he keeps switching between Japanese and Chinese in that scene. Which at first I was like, what is going on?
I think it's
really confusing.
Okay.
Because
I think it's China, because I think Hanzo is Chinese and I think Sub-Zero is Japanese. I don't know that, but I think that's why he's switching
it's
back
one
and
of
forth.
those. It's they're opposite, because he was speaking a language the other one didn't understand or whatever.
Yeah. The fight scene, the opening here, I thought this is like probably the best part of the movie, just in terms of pacing and just, everything about the fight scenes. Hanzo, we got this good family dynamic, and you kind of actually care about, oh shit, Hanzo's losing his family here. And who's this badass guy with freeze powers. I liked all this stuff. I thought it was good. I thought it showed the filmmakers had a very competent eye for cinematography in terms of just the visual effects, and also in terms of the placement of the fight scenes and stuff. There's not a whole lot to say other than that. You guys have got any special tidbits there that you guys liked or enjoyed or anything like that?
I absolutely loved the opening. It totally set the tone. And I like the way, like you said, it's the visual effects set the tone. And you saw, the heartbreak with Scorpion and his family. And it was pretty obvious of where he makes the weapon or whatever, and okay, he's Scorpion, you see that, but that's fine. They weren't trying to be sneaky about that. But I absolutely love diving into that backstory right off the bat, because this could have been that typical 1990s Mortal Kombat, just let's get into it and go. But they really did try to flesh out some good background story for this, and I thought that was great. I also thought it was interesting, not because I think the old one was they followed Liu. I think he was the main thing. So that was interesting to see his role in this one as more of like a mentor in a way, or an expert. He's battle hardened from this. I thought it was interesting that it didn't go into a tournament this round. It was more about stopping them from getting into the tournament, right?
That's where I have a little pushback.
Yeah, totally. But I agree. I mean, but you can see how they're setting up for that.
Sure.
With whether that's sequels or a series or something, and of course at the very end when they give you that little zinger of Johnny, So.
Oh yeah,
that's going to be
absolutely
interesting what they do with that. So and who they're going to cast for that too.
Well, Ryan Reynolds is already people are fan casting him, and he's already tweeted out this morning a cute little video game version of himself as Johnny Cage. And so, I mean, I think, we can get into that in a little bit, but Daniel, what do you think about this opening here?
Yeah, I really liked it too. I mean, all the way, it was just a really tight, I guess, maybe, what was it? Maybe 15 minutes, 10 minutes.
Basically a full sequence.
Yeah, just tight opener to the title. I thought it was just really clean, really tight. I mean, it just felt like you guys said, it's definitely a more modern take and a more modern filmmaker kind of style with this film. And I thought it set it up, really well. I think it did what it needed to do to give like the end, the finale some satisfaction, right? Like seeing him finally killed and Scorpion coming back from hell. I think it was a really nice kind of bookend to make it feel a little more epic, and even maybe just a little more heartfelt too, with the kind of revenge story. I really liked that.
Yeah, I'm with you both. I really enjoyed it. I will say I think that it's so good it almost hurt some of the middle part of the movie. Like I think I read somewhere initially that Scorpion wasn't even in the original version of the script, and they kind of added him on. You can kind of tell that he's bookending the movie now. I think it might have been more, I don't know, interesting to have Scorpion a little bit throughout, maybe hunting Sub-Zero or something. We kind of get a little more magic-y at the end of how he appears back and stuff. But I think it was a great opening. And then we're introduced, of course, to Cole Young, who I think almost everybody, it seems from what I see on the internet, people really don't care for this character too much. He's an original character. He's not, from the game. And of course, I think it's easy to say that he was created so people like us, the viewers, have an entry point into this world, right? So we have a perspective that's fresh and new, and so we're kind of learning with the character. They decided to give him an MMA background, which I don't think there's any MMA characters in Mortal Kombat so far, which I think, again, kind of hurts a little bit because MMA kind of constricts you a little bit to a certain fighting style when Mortal Kombat characters are very dynamic and they have some other things like that. But I know, Daniel, you had some pushback on Cole. I want to hit you first on that one.
Well, I actually didn't know he wasn't a Mortal Kombat. I assumed he was
Really?
a Mortal Kombat character. I was like, I mean, sounds like a name of a Mortal Kombat character. You got Johnny Cage, Cole Young, Fitz. I wouldn't. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, he's just bland is the thing. I mean, and it's some of that is just what was written for him. It's not the best dialogue. It comes across a bit over dramatic or overacted. I think a lot. And he just doesn't have a ton of emotional expression, I think. Maybe that's just the directing, maybe I'm not too familiar with this actor outside of this movie. He looks vaguely familiar, but like at the same time, I may never seen him, but he's just kind of fine. I mean, but at the same time, he serves the purpose of being the hero that makes the journey. He serves, and he does serve the purpose of like being like, the audience's kind of alignment as far as entering into this world, and he's learning everything at the same time we are. He's not memorable. He's definitely not one of the most memorable characters of this at all. And I thought, I mean, his power at the end is okay. Again, I thought it was from the game, so I was like, oh, well, that must be a game thing. So that's good. I mean, it's basically the Black Panther suit, right? Like it builds up, kinetic energy, or
you're right,
that, and then shoots it back.
Yeah, I think about that.
So,
Blake, real quick before you dive into that, Cole Young, do you have a strong background with Mortal Kombat? Do you play all the games, or do you kind of skip them every now and then?
I would say I'm more close to Daniel and his relation to the game.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the original movie when it came out.
Yeah,
I did play it when I was younger, but as the more they came out, the less I kind of followed it. But I know that there was more, like there was new characters in this one that were from later games than the original.
Yeah, sure,
which is really interesting, and I'm sure they're just trying to play with the fans on that. I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, I used to play the arcade at the Mazio's in Springdale. And
there
stuff.
you go, dude. Mazio's, man, is fucking the best, dude.
It
that chocolate pizza, man.
Yeah,
buffet, the chocolate pizza, the best salad at a pizza place ever.
Right.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah. And so it was always, my neighbor, the neighbor kid had Mortal Kombat, so we would go. Me and my brother would go there and play it quite a bit. But yeah, it was never like Star Wars is to me, I guess. But
sure,
it is interesting to see HBO Max, I guess, trying to tap into this Mortal Kombat universe and kind of make it their Marvel in a way. It's
Yeah.
interesting, and it's a good fit for HBO. I mean, it's gory. And
I agree.
Oh yeah.
they curse and they,
Yeah.
and we talked about that a little bit of just it being this R-rated version and not holding back on things.
Yeah, they don't hold back for sure.
They made it for us that played it back in the day. I feel like more so than this new generation. It's more, I feel like, right?
No,
Well, yeah, I mean, to kind of tap into the rated R part, I mean, it's the budget's $50 million, which is pretty conservative compared to some of these bigger blockbuster movies today.
Smaller than I would think. Almost,
Yeah, and I
especially with
mean,
all the effects, and they look pretty good.
Yeah, they look amazing. And you look at TV shows that are being produced at a high level for Netflix and like, Amazon and HBO. A lot of these TV shows have upwards. I mean, look at this is the ultimate extreme example, but Lord of the Rings for Amazon Prime is $500 million for one season. Yeah. And then you go back, the other end, Game of Thrones was $100 million for the last season. Mm-hmm. So, $50 million for a very popular franchise that is exclusive on your service for 2.5 hours is probably not the worst investment, especially if it feels like an event status. And again, they've made $50 million in theaters also. So it's kind of like this, they've already paid for their budget, maybe not their marketing yet, but they've already eclipsed that part of it. Mm-hmm. No, I think you're right. It's a good place to live for it. I do want to bounce back. What do you think about Cole Young? How are you feeling about him?
I'm with Daniel on that. He's just kind of there just for introducing us, this into the world or the universe. Like Daniel was saying, there really wasn't anything that was just super special about. I wish they would have played more off of his family side of it.
For sure.
They just kind of pop back in whenever he's fighting Goro, and
it was like purely just this is what will inspire him to get his Hokana, whatever.
Said it. And the decision where he's like, I'm not doing this, and then he's like, I got to go back. It just kind of happened really fast.
I know.
It was just he felt like a chess piece a little bit.
Definitely. Yes. Well, this kind of ties into one of the next things is, the games are the games. You just pick a character and they can do whatever. And, the problem of having a movie or a TV show is that when you have this fantastical world, sometimes you have to explain it, especially if it's the confines are a tournament and there's only a select amount of people that can fight in it. And so why do these people have these abilities? And the movie takes an interesting route where they call it the Hokana, right? Where it's unlocked through, Liu Kang says, pain or some type of traumatic event or something maybe even inspiring. And that was, to me, an interesting way. I totally was fine with it. And they had the dragon symbol, and either, it's kind of like Highlander. You kill them and you get it kind of thing. You get the power.
Yeah. That was interesting.
And
the
did too.
spinoff with Sonya Blade getting something similar to Kano's, but it's to her, her little.
Oh, I didn't even kind of pick up. It is like a laser beam. Yeah. It's like it's like a It's I didn't even catch that actually. That's like one of the coolest kills also, which we'll get to the kills here in a minute. But I thought, of course, so when you introduce that kind of element, and again, here's me poking at the movie a little bit. You introduce that kind of element. You have now the crux of the movie is there's a tournament on the way, and as Liu Kang says, we're going to have to train you guys for the tournament, which is also weird because Liu Kang is like, I've been looking for you guys, and it's like, how long have you been looking, Liu Kang? Like, they actually came to you, man.
also okay, when they came to him, they drop out of an airplane, and then they walk miles. Why didn't they just fly closer? I mean, like, it was like,
well, he didn't. Kano clearly didn't know where he was going because they ended up going. She throws.
Why don't you just fly around till you see it though? But it's got to be much more efficient.
Have you never seen?
I'm breaking down the movie logic at that point. But
have you never seen The Mummy, dude? When they have to be at a certain spot at a certain time to see the.
But that's not what happened.
Well, whatever. I can't fix everything for you. But anyway, so they introduced this. They introduced this Hokana, right? And the idea now for the meat of the movie, the middle part of it is to unlock their ability. And we know that it's a good idea probably to either set that up in the beginning or to have the external and the internal goal to match in some way. And the opening fight with Cole Young, the guy blatantly says, oh, you're all about, offensive. You're not about defensive. And so that should be a clue right there that his arcana will be something to protect him. Right. And she even gives him a bracelet and she says it's for strength. So,
Right.
so I think that you're right. Having them send him back was a really weird spot, and I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about all that? I think that it just didn't work for me. Him getting his powers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting because the whole powers thing was kind of odd to me, but I get it. It's part of it. I mean, I'm with you. It was a little lame, like you said, of you could tell what it was going to be right from the get-go.
Right.
The whole egg roll scene with Kano and his laser eye. That was a little cheese to me, but
it kind of felt like Kung Lao was kind of instigating him a little bit to get out his arcana. At least by the end of it, it seemed that way. He was smiling, So
yeah. Which I thought that guy did a really good job with Kano.
He steals the scene every scene he's in.
He did. It was because I liked the old Kano from the original.
Yeah, I did too.
He wasn't exactly like him or too different. It was like the perfect mesh of the character Kano. I thought he did that one.
I do want to bring up Kano provided one of the most hilarious things to me in the scene. It's funny because of how they handled it, but it's the scene where you first meet him and he's still tied up. And they're saying something and it's right before some character enters, I think, but it's like, they're like, he like asks on, he's like, what about you? What's your, and she's like, oh, I don't have a mark. And he off screen, he goes, ha ha. And no one acknowledges it. The characters don't make it like they just, the music's like swelling to this tense moment. And it's like just left there. It's just hilarious to me that they just, it felt like a joke in a sitcom almost.
Yeah.
But it worked though. I remember
it was funny.
Every time Kano basically said anything while I was in the theater, the whole audience, it was a small audience, but the whole audience laughed. Like everyone he really energized every scene he was in. And
he did.
It is kind of sad that maybe he'll come back. They could always explain it away clearly, but he dies at in this movie. And I wonder how maybe Johnny Cage will fill that gap as like the comedic relief kind of guy, because that's kind of who he is,
And to be just on his death, it was probably the weakest one. As far as
by
deaths,
far,
it was just very normal compared to the fantastical other ones.
Well, let's talk about the some of the deaths real quick, the fatalities as they were. This will tie into also the tournament aspect. I was expecting a tournament, we didn't get it, but we still had this like Shang Tsung sitting down on like a ledge, and he still says finish him like it is a tournament, and it's like they're winning
the liners.
It's kind of like the writer was like, oh, we should not do the tournament, but then like someone else was like, well, you got to have all these things that are related to the tournament in the movie. They have specific locations, X, Y, and Z. My favorite kill of the movie is absolutely probably Kung Lao's. Whenever he attacks, I can't think of her name. Yeah, I can't think of her name right now, but
that was awesome.
That was the coolest. It might have been the most graphic, but it was just it lined up with his power set, and it was visceral, and the camera angles, everything about it was great. Yeah.
Such a unique way to use his hat or whatever.
Whenever he even appears for the first time, like his teleportation abilities, they look so good. Like on a movie level, they just look good. And even Cabal, who is like he teleports with the with the weapons. He also looked good. So, what was your guys' favorite fatality? It may be Kung Lao's, but
that was mine for sure.
Yeah.
One thing that kind of bummed me out was Reptile.
Me too.
That bummed me out. It was like they just had him in there just to have it in there.
Which one was he?
He was Kano and Sonya Blade first fighting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They made him more. He's in the games. He's went from like full reptile to ninja reptile to somewhere in between. So
they could have played off that so much better. In my opinion.
I agree.
I liked Reptile. That was a cool, interesting thing. And then the old one, like you see him as like a sculpture, and then he comes to life.
He was a secret character. Yeah, he was the first secret character. Yeah, in Mortal Kombat. Yeah. Yeah.
So that was just kind of, he just kind of shows up just for like an action scene to get to get him out. And, I wish there was more to that in that story of that. But
I agree. Yeah, some
but
of
my
these people are
favorite
just
was definitely, Kung Lao's with the where he splits her in half or whatever.
What about you, Daniel?
That one's gets the when Kung Lao dies himself. That when he gets
the soul suck. Yeah,
it sucks.
I was like, we got to have that in here somewhere.
Yeah, no, I was really disappointed.
The like you see his skull and stuff. Like it's really, I thought that was.
No, it looked great. It was, in I guess a good way. I was very disappointed he died because I loved Kung Lao.
Right.
And I wanted to see more of him and Liu Kang go at it together. Because they even had a game called Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks, and it was a co-op beat 'em up action game, and it was awesome. And I was disappointed. It's in a good way. Daniel, favorite kill?
Yeah, I really liked Kung Lao's as well. It's probably, and I loves that he's like flawless kill. Like he just at this point there's just no shame dropping the one-liners, no context, no motivation. They're just fuck it, make them say the shit, and I'm like I'm there for it. This is great. I'm laughing. It's just this is great. I did like Jax's first death quite a bit.
Was Sub-Zero?
With subs, I liked the whole freezing his arms off and cracking them. That was pretty cool. I'm trying to think of, some of the deaths were a little bit, I guess, more anticlimactic. What was the girl with like the big
Melina?
Smile? Yeah, like her. She just kind of got like smacked or something. Like it didn't feel like a.
Yeah, Sonya Blade Blaster. It was like
that's right. No, she gets blasted through the middle, and then honestly, man, I'm blanking on his name. The cold guy,
Sub-Zero. My
his
boy.
death was not what I was expecting. Something very flamboyant for that, and we just kind of got it. He just got kind of. He got burned up, I guess. Right. And then I really did like Sun Li. Is it Sun Li or Sun?
Liu Kang?
Fire guy.
Liu Kang?
Liu Kang, yeah, sorry.
Is that Sun Li?
Kung Lao,
that's not
Liu
a bad
Kang.
name, actually.
Sun Li.
I want that.
No,
it's not a bad name.
Yeah.
Go on.
His whole fire dragon thing when he kills.
Cabal.
Cabal was really cool. Yeah.
That was.
It was cool.
It looked good.
Yeah. I do think, I always want the most. First of all, I'm always worried about how does the good guy kill the bad guy? Is it a cool? Is there a one-liner? Is it X, Y, and Z? Does it match thematically with the movie? Yes, I agree that the Scorpion killing Sub-Zero at the end was kind of anticlimactic. To their credit, it's like his original and most famous fatality is he pulls off the mask and burns them. That's like his fatality in the original games. So that's a direct reference to that. But yeah, no, you kind of said something earlier, Daniel, I want to pick up on is the absurdity of some of this stuff. Like they're just going for it. Like, after Liu Kang kills Cabal, he says fatality. And then he says for Kung Lao. Like no one would say fatality. He would just say for Kung Lao, which is better. And like that flawless victory, which I'm okay with, but they do that. But then they feel like they have to go in and explain the arcana, and they feel that make the movie kind of about that. And you know what I'm saying? Like it feels like they want to just fucking go for it and have a tournament and just say, here's people with powers and let's go for it. But then they're like, well, we got to explain what the tournament is and what's happening and X, Y, and Z. And it feels like they're just, they're tale of two cities here, kind of thing. That's kind of my general impression of it all.
Right.
Well, I mean, I don't know why. What's the main bad guy? Lord, was he the Soul Suck guy? Yeah.
Soul Suck guy. That's his new name, the Soul Suck guy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know why he was invading other than they just want to kind of thing. And I don't really know what Outworld is other than a different dimension. Right. And so like they leave these kind of big things and kind of, nebulous explanations for them, which I'm fine with, but I agree with you, Donovan. It then feels kind of awkward when they all of a sudden want to have some more, I guess, deep explanation, like for the Hakana. Is Hakana, is that word from Mortal Kombat? Is that?
No, that's a whole new thing. Yeah, it's a whole new thing.
But I mean,
No,
the characters all have those powers, though, right? In Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, they have powers.
That the Hakana is, or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Blake, what do you think about it? I mean, I know you brought up another point, Daniel, there is, when we go to Outworld, I think it looks great. The cinematography is great. The visual effects, the production design, but it also feels kind of empty. Like, I don't know why these bad guys are doing what they're doing other than just invading. Like, I know because, even in the games are just because they're evil and they want to invade. There's no good reason. There's no Thanos reason, right? Or at least sociopathic reason. So what do you guys, again, I know the ultimate answer to all this is, it is what it is. It's a movie trying to appease the fans and be blockbuster X, Y, and Z, but I do want to go a little deeper. So what do you guys think about, specifically Blake, the Outworld and invading and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I missed the old boat from the original movie.
Dude, yes.
Going to the island was just super cool to me.
Yeah.
And I might be wrong, Donovan, but like in the original one, it felt like there was way more world
building.
Yeah, than just that group of people.
Yeah.
Like, I think the first person, that's what missing is from the tournament side of it. You see them kind of go through levels of through the ranks of the tournament. So that was interesting. I sure hope they do a sequel for that fact of we got to see a cool tournament. But what's interesting is they have already killed off so many people. I mean, Goro's gone, which his death was I thought was pretty awesome.
It's cool, but you
also
also
want to see his arm get cut. He's got 4 arms. We want to see one get cut off.
Right, but also it's like, just because the old movies did it, but to me, Goro is Johnny Cage's. Like, that's, you don't.
I feel the same. You
don't give it to Cole Young, and also Goro's kind of like, he's like in the games too, but even in the old movies, he's the final level before the bad guy. He's he's their ultimate champion.
Yeah. And now he's gone.
And he's just some random brute they send out, royalty, but random brute. And that's where I start having like problems, is like that kind of stuff. But
and the CGI for Goro was really well done, but I'm a huge fan of animatronic stuff. And in the original, there's just something odd about animatronics and stuff. They just kind of move in a not normal way, but trying to be that. It's kind of freaky, especially if you're young and watching that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I remember watching like Total Recall, the original, and that was kind of scary when you would see like that stuff.
Quatu. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, so, but I know how, this day and age, but they did a good job with the CGI, but I miss that, that's just a filmmaker.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. There's always something more, it's tangible in the world. It feels real. And then something the actors, and I think that we get we can feel it, even the actors responding to real life things in the world, right? It may be like a very small percentage, but I still think it's very valuable. But you're right. Goro in the original 95 film, he was awesome. And like, I remember reading reports a while back that he was, it was like the day of and he wasn't working, you know what I mean? Like, but they made it work. And he's a really impressive animatronic. And that's the story of filmmaking,
Mm-hmm.
But no, I agree. I think one thing you touched upon was the old movie. It felt like Johnny Cage. We saw a film set with a crew and actors. Yeah. We saw Sonya Blade and Jax actually in Sonya Blade in like a club with people dancing. We saw Liu Kang in a temple with monks.
Uh-huh.
We don't even see our world that much. We see like people on the streets, at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And we see like maybe a few people at an MMA fight, but in Outworld, we see a few people. I mean, you're right. The boat's a huge thing. It's literally taking you from our world into this other world, like Wizard of Oz sort of thing. And you see all the ninjas and the people watching the tournament and then just all that stuff. It adds a lot to it. And it's one thing I kind of wish that we had touched upon more. And I think they should have gave Shang Tsung or somebody on that side a little more motivation, to
Mm-hmm.
to invade for whatever reason other than, I mean, it's easy as one, our place is not prosperous because you have more resources than ours. You know what I mean? Like that's for whatever. We want your resources because our people are starving. That's one line of dialogue you could have said and fixed probably 80% of that problem.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I mean,
I think
on the whole,
yeah.
sorry, like the whole idea, the fact that it wasn't, everything happened pre the actual tournament. I guess I still haven't figured out what the motivation for that was. Like, I guess I don't feel like the story would have been, I probably would have been helped honestly with a tournament to like help give them structure even. I guess maybe they have just some big grander plan. Maybe they're going to treat the Mortal Kombat movies like Marvel, and it's like the tournament movie is like the Avengers of the series, where they all, maybe something like that. But yeah, it was slightly just like, okay. I mean, I was kind of halfway through. I was like, wait a minute, this isn't the tournament. They're just
Right.
killing each other. Which I guess there's no rules to the tournament. You can just kill your competition before it begins, and then you win.
I mean, there's something said in the movie that of Shang Tsung is breaking the rules and that the elder gods are lazy and they're not interfering. And then, they're asking Raiden, why aren't you interfering? And he does in some ways, but he doesn't in other ways.
Gotcha.
It's very magic explained away, the classic don't matter sort of thing.
My car
I will
alarm
say,
going off. Sorry.
Oh, it's your car alarm?
Yeah.
Daniel lost his key fob, so he's getting it replaced right now.
I got a locksmith out there getting into my car.
Absolutely.
There you go.
But Don, if I want to go back to what you were talking about earlier, real quick, if I can, about how we saw those characters in their own, like Sonya and stuff, and they in the original, it was that classic kind of recruitment profile montage. Here's so and so, and you just go through their special skills, like we saw Sonya as a badass policewoman, and this one they just all just kind of clash together, and all of a sudden now they're like Jackson's, I got the mark, and and all this stuff, and I miss that part. I like that stuff.
I did too, man.
And you see it in movies, especially older movies from the 90s, but that it helps with getting you to root for whichever person. Like you're a big fan of Sub-Zero, of like that kind of that vibe. I did miss that quite a bit.
I mean, it makes sense, and not to talk too much about the old one, but we know Sonya wants Kano because that's why she goes to. We know Johnny Cage is a failing actor, so he wants to kind of redeem himself. We know Liu Kang wants revenge for his brother that dies by Shang Tsung.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like those are all simple things. Like, and we know Raiden is much different in this than even to the games in the movie. The old movie's more in line with him. He's a god who's kind of rooting for Earthrealm and will do whatever he can to help them. This one, he seems kind of like a pissed off, bitter old man that doesn't really, it's really interesting how they did Raiden. But I agree, you got to give people stakes of motivation other than we're trying to figure out this symbol and there's a mystery behind it, that kind of stuff. I get the implication for modern filmmakers to want to update material and not be cliche, but also cliches work for a reason, and if you do them correctly, then it won't be like a cliche.
And maybe the filmmakers just went into it saying, we already have our fan base and they already have their favorites. And so maybe that was a choice, but I'm with you. In my opinion, it doesn't hurt to.
Not when you're saying flawless victory after a kill. It's okay to have a.
It's almost like like make is it a remake of the old one or is it playing off of the old one? And it seems like it was a little confusing in that to me. I mean, obviously it's its own, but it hinted off playing some of the old original ones, but not fully in a way.
Yeah. Well, I said this before, I'm still a fan of it. I've clearly seen it 3 times and I wanted to talk about it on the podcast. I think I enjoyed it. I think there's room we haven't got the best Mortal Kombat movie of all time yet. It just hasn't happened yet. I want to get your guys' general thoughts and then we'll kind of start to wrap this up. So I know we kind of talked about it a lot, but real quick, if you could give me a log line of your general thoughts, Blake, of what you think about the movie.
Oh gosh. Kind of like
It don't have to be a log
from
line,
like a trailer. From like a trailer. No, it's entertaining. It hit some good spots for me. I was not disappointed. They very easily could have like messed it up in my opinion, but all in all, I really enjoyed it. I've seen it twice now, and it's good. I hope they make more. I really do.
Me too.
Yeah,
me too. I'm really looking forward to whatever they got in the future. What Daniel's off for a second, and I'm not sure if he'll be back on or not before it's all said and done. I do want to real quick. I feel the same way, by the way, yours, but I do want to ask. Oh, he's back. Daniel, what do you think about the movie?
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, I'm running in and out. You have to show me which kind of fob I needed to pick out.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
Thanks. Okay. Two funny things I'll drop. One, some of the dialogue at times was hilariously bad. Like it felt like it was originally in a different language and then they translated it. But obviously it's not true because you saying, I remember like when they first get to the place, the guy's like, listen closely. Your training begins now. Come with me. And it was just like, that was just a weird sentence or a way like it just felt like it almost like felt like it was translating a different language's words directly or something. It was just funky at times. It made me laugh. And then also the guy that was the soul suck guy, it was the same actor from Batman, The Dark Knight. That's like
you don't know the title of anything, do you?
I know
Batman, The Dark Knight. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, he's in The Dark Knight. And he's I don't know, for some reason, his performance always slightly felt like he wasn't selling it enough to me. And I just kept seeing, he kept seeming like loud to me. And I don't know, I couldn't get past that. But overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I feel like I'm kind of with these, like I am with like the Universal or the Kong and Godzilla monster universe stuff, where it's like, they're doing enough of what I want when I sit down for these that I'm going to come back. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly.
Of course, the story is funny at times and not good in times, but those moments were at least short enough that they got something cool enough afterwards to distract you, or you didn't bother you. And again, the big moments were big and they felt fun and epic. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm down. Sign me up for, Mortal Kombat 2 whenever we're getting that.
Hey, I got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the theme song? Because they definitely messed with it a little bit.
That's a go on, Daniel. I got thoughts.
To me, it sounded it sounded like a Cyberpunk 2077's theme song. I don't know if you've ever played that game, but it's like this, like, techno-y, like grungy, cyberpunky, like, and at times I was like, this sounds like the Cyberpunk soundtrack at times. At times it threw me off because it was even, I think, was it in the beginning? It was in that first sequence that it had that music at first that was like rocky and like, and then all of a sudden it just switched to something like really traditional drums. It's like dun 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 dun, and it was like, okay, this feels like a combat movie or like a martial arts movie now, but it was just kind of flipped between those. It kind of threw me off a couple times.
Daniel. Cyberpunk sounds like Mortal Kombat, my friend. Have you?
Sorry. Well,
okay.
But,
no, the I know what you're saying. The original '95 song, the techno badass opening, like that. How do you ever top that? That's the thing. This movie had a hill to climb, in my opinion. No, I mean the remake version of it that plays at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
and there's a few snippets during the movie. I like it. I'm glad they even chose to include it. Like, to me, that's a win in my opinion. Now the cool moments in the movie that when I just finished it a minute ago, I was like, fuck yeah, is when Liu Kang does his bicycle kick on Cabal. and you get the dun 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 when he does it, which
badass.
is fucking rad.
Yeah.
And then again, whenever Cole and Scorpion are fighting Sub-Zero, and they're just at this point they're just whipping his ass to whip his ass, and it plays them too. Fucking, just give me the whole movie, that soundtrack, and just fight. That's all I need the whole time. That's all I need.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fucking incredible. No, that's a good question though. I will. Well, I forgot what I was going to ask earlier. It's no big deal. That's a great question to end on. I assume you liked it, Blake?
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. I knew that they were probably going to mess with it a little bit.
Right.
I'm glad they didn't mess with, and correct me if I'm wrong, the voice when he screams Mortal Kombat.
It sounds exactly the same.
Yeah, that if they would have messed with that, I would have had a problem. But
Yeah, no, that guy killed it 20 years ago.
Yep, because when you hear that, you
Yeah.
know.
100%. I will say this, Daniel. You mentioned Shang Tsung earlier. It's the last thing I'm going to say. The guy who played Liu Kang, which is Robin Chow, he's also in Beverly Hills Ninja. And then I can't think of his first name, but his last name is Takawa. And he is Shang Tsung. Both of those actors are perfect for those roles. And like Shang Tsung specifically, they brought him back, the actor, for this last Mortal Kombat 11 last year, to replay Shang Tsung in the cutscenes because he's so popular. He's fucking incredible.
And that's the
he's
guy
also,
who played him in the movie?
Yeah, 95. Yeah. So it's
okay, wow. Yeah, the guy that was
awesome.
He was so ripped when he did that one thing where he was like showing his. I was like, damn, that was like, quite the definition on those muscles.
I can't think of his name. It's not Louis Tan. I think Cole Young is Louis Tan, but the guy who plays Liu Kang, that's the same actor who played the Black Power Ranger in the remake, the Manual from Power Ranger remake.
Okay.
So if you happen to see that, there's a little connection for you. Real quick, Blake, to finish this off, what are you working on? To give us a little teaser or where we can find you at to kind of keep up with you and stuff.
Sure. Well, right now we're in production on a horror film. I can't say too much about specifics. But we got that. We're also in development with a few other projects. We're hoping to do, probably 3 this year.
Wow.
And then we're already kind of filling up our 22 slate. It's pretty exciting right now for Rock Hill, and we're doing a little bit of, I wouldn't say rebranding is not the word, but of what we're trying to do. We want to do more of our own original content. We do a lot. We do every now and then, but we also do a lot of production services, which is helping get crew and locations for producers. But we're trying to move into the world of just doing our own content.
That's awesome.
Finding scripts and developing those.
Does that entail like shorts and features, or just mainly features, or what's that?
It does. I mean, features are bread and butter, but we do shorts. We did a short recently called Blood on the Risers. That's just now going out to festivals. That was a lot of fun, and so we're all things filmmaking, I guess.
That's awesome. Well, me and Daniel always have scripts in the back burner, so we're gonna send you a fucking briefcase. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So we're dead serious. We do this stuff, and we're working on that end game right there. Anyway, Daniel, how can our listeners write into us?
You can write into bit.ly/241mail. There, let us know what you thought of the Mortal Kombat movie. If you've seen it, best fatality, your favorite fatality, obviously would be a number one thing to let us know. If we missed, I feel like there was enough that I'm probably missing some already. Just even remembering, there's probably some I even thought about. So let us know there. bit.ly/241mail.
Yeah, and if you can't hit us up at our Bitly, go to youtube.com/241studios or 241studios.com to get more 241 content. There we have like 241 collectors on Mondays. We have 241 Backflash on Fridays. And of course, we have the podcast all week.
Whenever it comes out. Yeah. Any day of the week. It just depends.
We've almost hit 75 episodes in the last year. So we've been pumping them out.
That's awesome.
But we're cooking. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Blake, it was a pleasure to have you on the podcast. I hope you come back in the future, and we'll find we're this channel started on Star Wars. So I heard you mention Star Wars earlier. Yeah. And Last Jedi debates. And I mean, that's really what we started on. I've got my feelings hurt many times on this show. But I would love to have you back for some Star Wars or anything really. But I know the Bad Batch is coming up on Disney Plus pretty soon. And if you're interested in that, then we'll hit you up.
Sure. That sounds great, fellas. Be
That's
more than
awesome,
happy.
man. Perfect. Well, as always, I'm Donovan Thompson.
I'm Daniel Wingfield.
I'm Blake Elder.
And we have spoken.